if whatever you are doing is not making somebody else's life better, you shouldn't be doing it.
You're true to yourself, you're true to your foundations, to your philosophies, um, to those things that mean the most to you. And you want also to build a relationship with these investors. So
Aliko Dangote is the richest man of African descent anywhere in the world by far, no? What people might not understand is that he too needed to build on something that was there before him. I think it was in the year 1977. His rich uncle, because people probably think that he just got wealthy by chance. No, he didn't get wealthy by chance. His family was already one of the richest family in the whole of Africa. So his rich uncle gave him $3,000 in 1970.
If you are able to tell your story, you have the power to determine the history and the future of your business.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Business Storytelling series. That is a series, of course, that we'll be doing for a very long time now. In Business Storytelling series, we try to look at different angles, different ways that we can use the power of our story, the power of our experiences in being able to stand out in what we do. So today, we are looking at an important conversation. I think it's an important conversation because now you know your story. Now you are in business, you are doing something. But do you sometimes also think about the future, maybe when you are no longer here? Or what is even the legacy of what you are doing? So all these are going to be very important in the conversation that we are having today. Because I believe that, of course, money is very important in what we do. But money alone should not be what is driving us. Legacy should also be something that is of importance to us in the sense of how do you build legacy? How do you make sure that what you are doing can also outlive you? So that you are not going to say, okay, everything that I'm doing today, I'm going to consume everything. You can't just say that. You need to also consider people that are not even born yet, that what you are doing is going to have a reverberating effect on them. How if we could be reasoning like that in how we build up our business? Either we are careful about what we do. We're not just thinking of, oh, what I'm doing today by the time I go to the grave, because everybody's destination is a grave. That when I'm going to the grave, I will take it along with me. No, you are not going to think like that. You're going to think that what you are doing today is going to be helpful to somebody. You see, a couple of days ago, I was having this intense interview with a guest, and I was telling her, you see, there is a sense to what we are doing in Obehi podcast and also in Aclasses media. Either we are doing something for people that are not even born yet. We are conscious of that. Either what we are generating, the content that we are generating, including this particular one that we are doing today, we are sending a message to somebody that is not born yet. Think about that for a moment. If we know that, it means that we should be careful of the kind of information we bring out there because we will not be there when we are going to be judged. The people that we are communicating to, for example, let me give you an instance. Have you ever taken, maybe, of course, now let's look at the African diaspora, taking maybe a record of Marcus Garvey making a speech. You see, Marcus Garvey is not here today now to defend and say, this is what I wanted to say. This is what I mean. No, he cannot do that now. He has already done what he can do. Now, we are going to judge him based on what he did. So, legacy is being able to look at what is going to be in the future and be working towards it, knowing that what you are doing is going to have an effect on the people. So this is more of what we're going to be talking about today, reflecting on, of course, looking at different people who are using the power of storytelling in their business. So I encourage you to join us. If you have any intuition, if you have the feeling that your God is telling you to say something, say it. Let us know what you are thinking. Does it even make sense to you that what you are doing should have should resonate with people that are not born yet? should that be even relevant to you? That is what we are talking about today. So I want to start with Don Huff. Don, you'll be here a number of times, and I'm so happy that you are here again. Please tell the people who you are. Let's start from there.
Well, I'm Chief Executive Officer of Enterprise Transformers. We're a management consulting firm. We consult primarily with a private equity firm based in New York City who brings on multiple clients who are seeking investment for their business. And interestingly enough, many of these businesses are new. However, there are strong indications frequently that now that we're talking about that, there are strong indications frequently that these have the potential to become legacy type companies. And so I would not frame them as what you may have heard sometimes as like a unicorn company, one that just goes crazy. And some of these may, but the idea being that many of these have the potential of becoming legacy companies. And I'm also the founder of Grow Mobile, which is an innovative agribusiness mobile app designed specifically for Africa and for the Caribbean.
All right. So now we like to hear also, anyway, what Don said there is very important. Looking at the company that you are building, the services that you are rendering, the people that you are contributing to. And I like it when you say legacy company. We are coming to that. We are coming to that just now. Now, let's hear from Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here. You see, I was making an example of Marcus Garvey before, because these are people, of course, that are of particular importance to us within the African diaspora community. That what we do should be relevant to the people that don't even yet born. So I was giving an instance of maybe when you take a record of Marcus Garvey, looking at his speech, you need to understand that he's speaking to you. Only that he's not here standing in front of you now, but they have done it. And he leave his message down for you to learn from. Now, you see, Marcus Garvey is a human being that have a certain liter of blood in his vein. If you shoot him, he will die. He is like you and me. So you and me are also going to do something that other people are also going to learn from, so that one day they will say, what he says makes sense to me. But you see, you need to deliberately say that in order to make sense to somebody. You can't just imagine that what you have in your head is going to automatically translate and catapult itself into the mind of somebody. No, you need to do it. You need to make it available. Somebody one day is going to look at it. Maybe they're going to look at the conversation, including this particular one today that we are having, not in this dimension. Okay, what I mean by that is that they're probably not going to have video like we have it today. They're not going to have LinkedIn because LinkedIn will probably not be existing then. But they will still have tools to be able to read us and listen to us and view us and hear us. These are the people that we're talking about. What we are saying today, what sense will it make to them? What if businesses, founder, people that organize large organizations can be thinking like that? They were not just thinking about me. What can I get now? Let's think about the future too. Let's think about what would people say when we are not in the room. What is your take on that?
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. Morning, first of all. I guess in Africa would be afternoon, where you are. I have a few things on that. But let me start first with a scripture. I know this is business oriented, but for me, the balance is spiritual first. Psalm 78:4 says, a call to pass down faith stories declaring, we will not hide them from their children, but will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power, and the wonders he has done. Then also, there's another scripture in the Bible that says a man should prepare not only for his children, but for his children's children. And that's exactly what the Marcus Garveys did. As a matter of fact, I think a month ago, we had a Marcus Garvey, Dr. Love symposium, because Garvey's influence was just not in Jamaica, it was worldwide. But what a lot of people don't know is, and I'm proud as a Bahamian to say, that he was influenced by a Dr. Love, who was a Bahamian. So we think that our stories may not be important, may not be impactful, but you have no idea where they will result. But because of a Dr. Love who influenced a Marcus Garvey, who influenced a Kwame Nkrumah, who turned around and influenced my dad and now me, it has come full circle. So legacy cannot be underscored. Storytelling, never underestimated because it is impactful and it can go from generation to generation. And just as an example of that, if our forefathers did not leave those hieroglyphs on the walls, if we didn't have the Enuma Elish or the tablets that were left, the Dead Sea Scrolls, all of these books that are now impacting what we do today, where would we be? How would we know the right steps to take? How would we know the seasons that we should be planting? How would we know when the Nile River waters are going to be highest and we need to move? How would we know that we are now in a procession and what's going to happen with the earth? Because this is cyclical. These things have happened before. And because people have written and have told their stories, we now have the information that we need to survive today. So definitely legacy is important and storytelling is impactful.
Thank you so much for that, Jennifer. That is powerful. I like that. I like that it is all cyclical. It's all turning around. What goes around, they say, turns around. We know that. We should know that. You see, this is very fundamental. We are talking business. I want you all to understand that we are talking business. But if we take away the human being in the business, it doesn't make any sense because you are going to serve people. Whatever you are doing is at the service of the people. May I remind you what Muhammad Ali said, that the rent we pay here on earth is a service we render to other people. I'm not even asking you how many thousands of dollars you are making. If whatever you are doing is not making somebody else's life better, you shouldn't be doing it. So all this is very, very important for me, what we are talking about today. So at that point, I want to bring in Jay. Jay, you're a little bit dark there. I don't know what is happening. I was sort of criticizing Dr. Ikechi before. I said, Dr. Ikechi, you see, in the Bible, God said, let there be light. Or at least those who wrote the Bible put it like that, and there was light. That was the beginning of it. So we need to start with light. I don't know what happened there in your end, but anyway, we can see you, we can hear you. What is your take on the conversation? We're talking about building legacy. And of course, building business, but building business that also lead to legacy. And we're talking about the power of storytelling here. Please tell us something.
Yes. Well, I like what Jennifer said. Jan, you really bring up a good point. And so do you, Obehi. You know, in business, where storytelling is key, we look at it from a different perspective. But if we go back to its very roots, its very foundations, storytelling is really at the key of what we're doing when we're marketing, when we're selling. And storytelling is really intrinsic to culture, every human culture, right? What other culture is there? But really, from my perspective, I'm a Pacific Islander. And I've mentioned this before. My ancestors traveled thousands of miles over open ocean on purpose, seeking a better life, seeking better opportunities to thrive. And they found it in these islands dotted all across the Pacific. And their legacy, because we're talking about legacy, are the chants and the stories that they pass down from generation to generation to allow their descendants to continue to thrive all across the Pacific. And if we take that to the next level, how we operate, how we do things now as a society and as human beings, things have changed due to technology and advancements and stories that evolved over millennia. But really, we got to go back to the core. And I want to say we would not exist had we not had those stories. And I'll give you really good examples of how society and culture need, we really need stories. In my case alone, the language that I speak currently is a derivative of an original language years and years and millennia ago, but it has been impacted by other people's stories. And so it had to evolve. But colonialization almost wiped that out. The society that existed hundreds of years ago is different from the society we live today as people from Guam and the Mariana Islands. But the vestiges of that culture remain as a result of us continuing to pass down stories over the generations. And so culturally, society has moved forward over time because of these stories. And it may sound esoteric or academic at this point, but it really goes to the core of what we're trying to do in business. We need to not just survive, we need to thrive. And in order to do that, these stories we pass down through our subordinates and to our audience, our customers, allows our business to thrive and continue to go forward. That is legacy. And legacy happens, we know what legacy is only as a result of that story that has been passed down. And so it goes beyond being esoteric. It goes directly to how we function as a race, as human beings, as members of the business community. So storytelling is everything for us as higher beings, right? To be able to pass down information through generations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Jay. That is powerful. This is a very highly charged conversation today, and it's very important. I encourage you to share also to people within your network so that they can benefit from it. Of course, I understand that we are recording this room so that it can be available for other people that are probably not here now. But if you have the chance to be able to share with people, share so they can join in the conversation and also maybe add their thought to it. Because this is important. This is an important conversation. Now, I'm going to bring in Dr. Ikechi to hear his first take. But before then, I want to congratulate Dr. Ikechi. Recently, he was given a merit award in the United Kingdom because of the work that he's doing. He's a very thorough and hardworking person within the field of food and agriculture and agribusiness. We have had a lot of publication about him on Aclasses media, different research projects that he has done. So he's really a person with a really hard-working spirit. And when we talk about legacy, this is what we're also talking about today, that in the United Kingdom, they call him out, singled him out, and award him. So we just published an article about it that we are sharing now to show how much we appreciate that. So Dr. Kechi, you are also at the center of the conversation today. The legacy that we are building within the field of business. Please share with us.
Thank you. I'm very, very grateful. And I owe everyone, whatever that is good, I owe my people, I owe Aclasses Media, I owe everyone I come across in my life kindness, love, and every good thing. Yes. And even the conversation, because I just had to give my a listening ear to Jay when he was speaking about legacy in the aspect of everything. And that reminded me of last week's conversation. And I want to appreciate Jennifer for also, you know, giving us, um, that step, that leap, forward in the conversation. So I can say that, yeah, I was very excited to receive the award, and yeah, it also reminds me that I shouldn't forget where I'm coming from. I shouldn't forget um, that those that culture, that making, that original um, touch of reality. It always unlocks humility in you. Reality will unlock humility, but sometimes we don't. We tend to forget where we are coming from, and we feel that we deserve everything. And that is also what storytelling does. So it helps to build that legacy in line with our conversation today. That legacy that we are, building a legacy business. So building a legacy is a business on its own. So I love this topic very well, but I can say that building a legacy is a business. So it's like an emphasis building business, building a legacy business. So, and sustainability has to be in our minds. Feel that we deserve
in our
everything. Lots of people have missed it. I'm telling you. A lot of human beings on this earth, they have find opportunities to be in the business space, working and serving people, serving, well, depending on where they are working or what, their sphere of influence. Because why I'm saying this is because a lot of people have missed it. I'm telling you. And you can even attest to that, that a lot of people have leaders, parents, children coming up. So, and the main thing is, if you've missed it, are you able to come back and begin to change? So, when stories, telling of stories or storytelling helps to share our failures as well. We share where we missed it with, people. We are humble enough. On Sunday, something happened on Sunday. I was watching, I was, watching a service, online, and an actress, very popular actress. I know some of us should know her. So she came out publicly in that church, and she was she was saying a lot about her lifestyle in the past, and it is so public, it has gone viral. I see people replicating that testimony now. So you know what she said? She said that she has not done well. She started to share her stories. You know what she did that day has left some legacy. I'm telling you, lots of people came out to cry, to pour out their spirit, to pour out their hearts, to say things, we will not, do the bad things we used to do again, So that's so. Have you seen that sharing stories can actually, bring about what transformation, bring about change? And what is change? What is transformation? It's all part of legacy. Legacy has to do with a positive aspect, not a legacy of negativity. So let me stop here for now. But I know that we are, the conversation is building up like the host has said, Mr. Ewanfoh Obehi. Thank you so much.
Of course, your presence is going to be here uh, in that life, the entire essence of life is in relationship. And so you are either going to be remembered, only that you can either be remembered for good or be remembered for bad. I'm not going to go into the esoteric part of how people might look at it. That whether you are looking at it from Judaic, Christian, or African religious system, we never disappear. We are always going to be here forever. I literally mean forever. But how you want to be forever is up to you. You can be a bad element or you can be a good element. But of course, I don't also want to go deeper in those areas. But all what I'm saying is you are going to be here. But how do you want to be here? What kind of influence do you want to have? Do you want to be remembered? You see, for the fact that I'm making reference to Marcus Garvey, it's not by accident. It's because he have a positive influence on hundreds of millions of people. The question is, do you want to be remembered like that? You can also be remembered in another way, like maybe Adolf Hitler, for example. People will remember you because remember what many experts have said, that people will remember how you made them feel. And feeling is not necessarily just a good, a positive thing. There are also bad feeling. If you give people bad feeling, they remember you for bad thing. That means they equate you to a negative energy. You don't want to do that. But if you influence people in a positive light, like Marcus Garvey, Thomas Sankara, and many other individuals bigger than life in our community, people will remember you because you have left a good imprint in their life. It becomes therefore a choice in how do you want to be remembered? How do you want your legacy to be? You don't have the choice of saying they will not remember you. That you cannot choose. But you can choose how they want to remember you. That is the choice that you can make. So I think at this point, let's look at how do we even build legacy? That is something that somebody might be wondering about right now. Somebody that is listening to the conversation might be wondering, okay, they're talking about legacy, but how do you build it? What is your intuition? What are you thinking about that? Let me bring it back again to Dom, because you were the first person to speak. So I want to sort of learn from you. How do you build legacy? Please share with us.
Well, this is new information for me, so I thought I would share it with you. And this is what's been done by a Japanese group. The name of the group is Mitsui Group. They're in Japan. They were founded in 1673, and they're still in operation. So 350 years. They're involved in global trade and supply chains, energy and natural resources, finance and banking, manufacturing and logistics, infrastructure and technology. And one of the keys for its longevity really is about continuous reinvention, but they never lost their core identity. What makes them a legacy business, it's the group survived multiple world-ending events, and these are specific to Japan. Keep it in mind. There was the fall of feudal Japan, the Meiji Restoration, World War II, Japan's post-war economic collapse, and multiple global recessions. So most companies can't even survive one of those. So, they managed to survive all of those. And it mastered generational thinking. So they looked at things through the lens of long-term relationships over profit, which is very, very different, let's be honest, than things are at the moment. They were more concerned about reputation over speed and stability over speculation. So, in other words, they didn't like the idea of speculating about this thing or that thing. But the thing about it is, because of the way they formed this group and because of the thinking, um, they have influenced many, many, many other companies that are multi generational as well and have built legacies on their own. Um, so I guess one of the things, kind of a point here is that legacy isn't about being the loudest, the fastest, or the most hyped. It's about being adaptable, trusted, and indispensable across generations. So I think the idea is, now you hear about startups and the idea being you have to be the first to get out. You need to understand your competition. There's many, many different aspects that are somewhat different than what this group has done in Japan. But I do think that there's one kind of foundational element in the whole thing, and it has to really to do with being adaptable, trusted, and indispensable across generations. So the indispensable aspect, when you think about it, what are you going to do if it goes away? What would I do? How would I replace it? How would it impact me? What would life look like without that? So those are reasonable questions to ask, in the situation when you're thinking about a legacy business. For myself, I'm looking at building Grow Mobile as a legacy business. And in my mind, a legacy business can survive and must survive with or without a founder. So the founder lays the foundation, but those involved help to continuously build the building and maintain that building over time and adapt to things over time, and as well as innovate over time. But at the same time, you want to be trusted and you want to be indispensable. So that's really kind of some foundational things behind Grow Mobile that I'm deeply invested in. I'm not looking to make as much money as fast as possible. I'm looking to build relationships. I'm looking to build a legacy, something that will survive many, many years in many different countries, many different continents as it's feasible and possible. That's what we're trying to do. But the key thing to remember is with or without a founder, it will survive and it will continue. And that's a real key, I think, to having a legacy company.
Thank you so much for that. That's a good point. That is a great point. That is a great point. I really appreciate that. But I would like to ask you one more thing. Now, looking at the example that you share of the Japanese, I wanted to speak to somebody who is probably new in business. And this individual want to take a message from that story that you share. What do you want this individual to take? He's just started. He haven't built the business like the Japanese that have already have it up to 300. Okay, I live in Italy. Of course, I think all across Europe, there are many businesses that are multi-generational. Of course, also in the United States. But since Europe have a deeper history than the United States, okay, there are people that are having, okay, all right. At the end of slavery, those who benefited from the money basically transferred the money to their children. Yeah. That you understand, no? It never really ended. Okay. Colonialism is the same. If you go to the story of the Persian, if you go to the story of the Roman, you see that there are families that continue to be in business. These are hundreds of years, sometimes going into thousands of years. So what is making them to stay? What is making them to be able to build this kind of system that endure, that lasts several hundreds of years and even going to thousands of years for some? Now, looking at the experience that you share of the Japanese, the story that you share of the Japanese, I would like you to carve out a story, a lesson there for somebody who started a business today. What do you say about that?
So, so the idea, well, let me back up. So there's different angles, let's say, about this whole thing. There's the angle of how a business is portrayed to the public, to consumers. And there's the idea of how a company is portrayed, let's say, to investors. And so when you contrast those two things, they kind of almost conflict in a way. You want, as a, I'll speak for myself and say that in spite of our need for investment to begin operation, I'm very interested in building and establishing long-term, strong and trustable relationships with individuals, with organizations, with co-ops, with various different groups, regardless of what country they might be in or what continent they sit on. Doesn't matter to me. But I'd love to be able to have those strong relationships. Those strong relationships also help to build trust. And I think trust is huge in beginning a business and just trying to get things started. It has to do not only with trusting yourself, but also trusting those that you decide to surround yourself with in order to make a business happen. It's not common for an individual all by themselves, in spite of what you may see on Facebook, on Instagram, on so many different places. I've started a business, I built a no-code app, and now I'm making thousands of dollars every day. I'll put a question mark about that. But the bigger part of it is this aspect of trust. You also want to build and establish trust with investors, such that they know that what you speak is true to yourself. You're true to yourself. You're true to your foundations, to your philosophies, to those things that mean the most to you. And you want also to build a relationship with these investors. So, the idea of truth, of trust, of relationship building, those are so key. I mean, they're very, very basic, but they're a critical aspect of trying to get a business off the ground and get things started. So building trust with those who will be eventually users of whatever your business might be, whether it's a clothing business, online business, whether it's, a brick and mortar type business, it doesn't really matter. And then your relationships and your trust that you've established and built with investors, if you have investors, if you're fortunate enough to have them, you want to also ensure and extend as much trust and all the truth you can inject into things in establishing, building relationships with your investors. So trust and relationships, those are just absolutely key, I think.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Of course. Trust is fundamental if we are going to be able to survive. I like what you were saying there. People are so carried away by these vanity metrics that they see all the time. But I think we shouldn't focus too much on the vanity metrics. We should focus more on things that really endure. There was this important book, The Richest Man in Babylon. I think that was an interesting book for the fact that they are looking at the ancient who have built wealth. And what they found is that the way to build wealth that endure require time, diligence, and consistency. You don't just get wealthy. Okay, I'm talking of real wealth. You don't just get there by a little tricks and it just happen. It takes time. Everything takes time. Okay, you see, if you enter into the fastest military jet in the world, and you want to move from, say, one end of Chicago to the other end of Chicago, which is one city, you will still need time to do that. You don't just say, boom. You need time. Everything needs the appropriate time to mature. You see, if you take the maize grain to the ground, you will plant it. You don't just dare and say, hey, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to plant, that is first step. You need to weed around it, that is another step. You need to make sure that you water it, that is another step. You see, there are step by step in how things work. Now, Dangote, Aliko Dangote is the richest man of African descent anywhere in the world by far, no? What people might not understand is that he too needed to build on something that was there before him. I think it was in the year 1977. His rich uncle, because people probably think that he just got wealthy by chance. No, he didn't get wealthy by chance. He did it. His family was already one of the richest family in the whole of Africa. So his rich uncle gave him $3,000 in 1977. That is about 500 billion naira of today in Nigerian money. Something like that. If 1977 he could get a loan of $3,000 from within the family network, because it was a relation of him. Now it tells you that, of course, what you are talking about, the trust is important, but also for the fact that he's building on something that was there before. Because just having the money doesn't solve the problem. What about the network? Do you know who you are going to sell to? Do you know how to enter into the market? Somebody need to lead you. Somebody need to help you. All what I'm saying here is that we need to know that we don't get anywhere all by ourselves. If we need to get anywhere, it's because we are relying on the support of other people. We shouldn't be ashamed to say that. That is the natural way of living our life. So the other day, I was having a guest in my podcast. We were talking about the importance of community. And I was saying, now let's do a test. Let's say we give $500 billion. Okay, let's make two groups of people. Only that we're going to have one person in a group, and we have maybe like 10 or 50 people in the second group. In group A, we give him money, $500 billion. We give it to him, and we send it to test in a natural world. But we're not sending it to New York now. We are sending him to the forest, because that is a natural world. Now, in group B, we give them no money, no instrument, nothing at all. But there are 10 or 15. We send them into the forest. I said, which of them do you think is going to survive first? Of course, it's obvious. The one without money, but have people. Because people are what make magic. If we want to survive, we must learn how to work with people. And we also learn how to negotiate, build, and leave something behind. Because we're always building on what had been there before. Okay, now, I've said enough. I want to bring in Jennifer. Jennifer, now the question now is the how. How do we build legacy? We're talking about legacy, but how do we really build that? What do you say? Maybe looking at it from the point of view of what you do, what you know, or your personal experiences. Please share with us.
I'll do a combination of both. Marketing is, like I said, my formal training. So you have your 4 Ps: your product, your price, your product, price, placement. What am I missing? Distribution. Okay. Once you have a unique product or service, and it has to be, even if it's not, like I said, we gave the example of the flags. Okay, we all have flags, but my flag is pink and green versus your flag. So my benefits are going to be that mine are pink and green, and mine can match with whatever. We'll just use that as an example. I have to now position this flag where it's going to be most readily accepted. For instance, I have a former mentor, now late, a local businessman. Many, many years ago, when I was first getting into business, he said, when he started with sponges. And I was like, sponging? And he's like, yeah, because every household needs a sponge to wash their dishes, as we do locally. I don't know what you do in Africa, but find something that every household needs and it'll sell. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So it's not the big ticket item. It's just that's going to appeal to a large market. if you want to be able to scale. Not only that, you have to price it so that it's competitive. So let's say, again, your flag and my flag. If we both have flags that are priced at $10, then it's an equal opportunity. But if I'm wise, I will buy in bulk so that I can afford to now take a little less of a profit so that I can move volume. So I'll charge $8 for my flag versus your $10 flag. And if our flags both do the same thing, then of course, price is going to be the deciding factor. So they're going to go with my flag. So there are many strategies that you can use to build whatever it is that you're building. But again, we come back to be authentic, be unique. Whatever it is that is your selling point, your niche, you have to capitalize on that and make sure that you put that out to the market, because that's what's going to make you memorable. That's what's going to be, I'm going to be the go-to for the pink and green flag because I'm the only one with the pink and green flag. So that'll help you build your legacy. But I also wanted to mention there are two companies that I looked at, and I like the example that was given earlier of the Japanese company because 350 years is astounding. But of course, we're more American influence. So I looked at Coca-Cola and KFC, and they both have a secret formula. So their whole thing is KFC has this recipe with their special chicken that you can't get anywhere else. Yes, there are other people selling chicken, but you cannot get that flavor of chicken. And again, because they're unique and they are consistent, like you were saying, they've morphed over the years, but they are still consistent with their product. So when I say they've morphed, it used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now they've modernized that to KFC. Still same meaning, but just a more modern feel to it. Same colors, the red and white. But again, their consistency of product gives them that advantage, they've built that trust with the community. So anywhere in the world that I go, if I see a KFC, I know what I'm getting. Anywhere in the world you go and you get a Coca-Cola, it's pretty much going to be the same. There may be a slight difference because of, okay, the water in a particular area has maybe a little more minerals in it. But for the most part, wherever you go, you know, once you get a Coca-Cola, this is the flavor that you're going to expect to get. So that consistency, that authenticity, their unique proposition to everybody remains the same, so that once they see that branding, they know that they can trust it. And that builds a legacy because Coca-Cola has been around for over 130 years, which is quite a bit. And Kentucky is almost 100 years. So again, that's 3 and 4 generations. If we look at a generation as 30 years for a company to have been around. Owners have changed. The sole owner is now probably a shareholder. They are now larger corporations. So the financial structure behind them has changed, but their products are authentic and are consistent, and they've built that trust with their audience.
That is beautiful. I appreciate that. But I have another question to ask you, Jennifer.
Certainly.
You see, business is not always straightforward all the time. In that it's like snake. It move. It's not. It's not a. Oh, it move. Okay, let's put it like that. Okay, maybe snake is not the right example. Let's say it's like water. It flows. It's fluid. That is up, is down, is move like this, and it move like this. No, I'm talking of the turns that you have in business. And maybe you might have one idea. You think, oh, this is going to blow out, but it doesn't blow out. But of course, as a business person, you don't quit, because if you quit, it means you are not ready for the game. Because business is essentially a game. Now you learn and you restart the game and you are on it. You are playing the game. It's an infinite game. It's not a finite game. All right. And because you are playing all these different kind of game now to be able to remain in business, at the point you're going to tell this story. But which of this story do you really want to tell? Because now we're talking about communicating to what is going to come in the future. Are you going to concentrate on only the good part of it? Or how do you choose what is important for people to know about you? Because those that are going to learn about you haven't heard about you before. You are telling them something about you, But how do you choose what to tell them?
The truth. That's simple. The truth. Everybody's story is not perfect. Everybody can relate to ups and downs. So if you walk people through your story as it happens, it makes it relatable. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Like, for instance, my story in business, I've been in several. Some have worked, some haven't. I have horror stories where I've lost $250,000 in one go. And then there are stories where I didn't even know this would work. And you make $250,000 in one go. There's no, there's a certain amount of preparation that you can do, but what they say, preparation meets opportunity. Sometimes things are planned out, some things just happen. But what you are in all of that is authentic. Be consistent, be truthful. Tell your story the way it happens, and people can relate to that. And I like the fact that you use water as an example as opposed to a snake, because water is probably the truest element, the most existing. We live in water. We're breathing water. It's just another form of water. Water takes on all forms. It can be solid, it can be liquid, it can be gaseous. So yes, be water, because you will, with whatever conditions come, be able to change. But your core elements, your H2O, remains consistent.
That's lovely. That is a powerful analogy. I like that. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. All right, now we bring in Jay. They're talking about also the element of the story, the element of storytelling here now. You know, Jay, why I'm bringing you, because I have two questions for you. But first, I want to learn, how do you really, how do you approach this legacy building? Then, of course, I have another question to ask you after that. Please share with us.
Well, I want to share a personal anecdote. A really close friend of mine in high school recently passed away. And so this was about a week ago.
Oh, sorry about
And
that,
he was
dear.
playing,
Condolences.
yeah, he was playing basketball, something that he would normally do and enjoy. And as he was playing, he suffered a seizure and he was unable to recover. And I'm sharing that personal story because really that's the human experience. Personal anecdote. We are experiencing life on a daily basis and mortality. And so when we're faced with that, what do? Well, a lot of us tend to internalize and we think philosophically and we think deeply. How is this going to impact my family? How is this going to impact my friends, my community? Should I pass? Right? So when we're faced with mortality, a lot of us really look at our legacy in those moments. And that's what I've been doing lately. And you know, we, Jennifer, thank you for being vulnerable and being courageous and sharing your faith and the Word of God. Because I was given an epiphany recently, and that was at church. Usually that's where people get theirs, right? Sometimes in whatever faith you are, right? And so for me, it was this last Sunday. What do we do when we're faced with that mortality? And the simple answer was we have to live in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And living in the moment means living our lives, right? Going about our daily lives. One of those things that we do just as human beings is, and in cases where we're looking at our mortality, we think about our future, and sometimes our future or the future of our loved ones without us in it. And when you do that, that internalization gives us the ability to think of stories beyond just what we do currently.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that's for a personal story. That's what I'm thinking about regarding legacy.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Um, Another thing I was also trying to ask, or maybe I will try to point out again, it would be also the conservation of the story, because now we tell this story, we have it, and it's available for us, whether in the form of book or in the form of whichever way you decide to write your story. In Aclasses Media, for example, the businesses that we work with, after we do what we call the story excavation, we move it to the asset type, in the sense that now that the story is ready, you know what your story is. What do you do with that? In fact, what kind of asset do you want to translate this story into? Because now you cannot just put the story in your head or put it in a piece of paper. You need to translate it into something that people can consume. You see, I make reference to the famous Marcus Garvey before. We know of Marcus Garvey not because we read a piece of paper, because we have books about him. We have see audios about him where we hear him talk. No, so those are some assets that we can create. Okay, so what I was going to ask you is, how do we conserve our story so that people that are probably not here within us just now, they can see the story, or they can see the asset that we have created for them, whether in the form of video, in the form of audio, in the form of text. So how do we choose which is the right asset to create that will help us translate our emotion to them? What do you say about that?
Well, it's something I'm actually pondering on right at this moment. I've told stories in all kinds of channels, video and audio, and in a book. And I think it just depends on the type of story you want to tell and the type of audience you're trying to reach. In one instance, in a cultural channel, I created a chant, a warrior's chant, and I created that chant specifically for an MMA fighter, a fighter who participates in tournaments today. And he participated in a tournament in Japan. And in that tournament, that chant was used as his entrance song into the ring. And for a moment, I was thinking about whether or not I should do it because it was a commercial thing. And what I was doing was cultural and in honor of my ancestors. But I thought about my audience, and the audience was the world. I wanted the world to know that my people exist, and they have existed for thousands of years. And what better way than on the world stage? And I was very proud to know that that broadcast reached 4 billion people around the world. 4 billion. So what you do and the channels you use to tell your story is dependent upon the message you want to bring and who you want to bring it to. And so I wrote a book called The Rules of Engagement in Storytelling. And I wanted to reach a wide audience. And now I want to reach an even wider audience. And so now I'm using the ability to create a platform online using also AI to help people go through each chapter of my book to help them tell their stories. So I guess the short answer is the world's your stage, right? And I know it sounds very cliche, but it is true. The world's your stage, and you so figure out who your audience is and how you want to get it there. And digitally is the easiest way to do it currently. The next thing I want to bring to the discussion, just really briefly here, is that old saying that history is written by the victor. And I brought up a story about colonization specifically for my people. And so they were able to write my people's history in their form for hundreds of years. Now we're reclaiming our story.
Yes.
A lot of indigenous colonial powers, right, that have existed since colonization are reclaiming their stories. How does this translate to business? If you can tell your story, you have the power to write your history.
Narrative.
You can say that again.
Absolutely. If you are able to tell your story, you have the power to determine the history and the future of your business.
Thank you so much for that, Jay. That is truly powerful. And that message, I think, really went home. It went home to the audience, to the listener, and it's at the center of everything that we are doing here, which is owning your story. Because when you do, you have nobody to compete with because you are essentially a unicorn. You have had experience. Only you have had that particular experience, that version of the experience. And by the time you are interpreting it, nobody can contest it because you are talking about your lived experience. Nobody was there with you. You see, for somebody to contest that story with you, the person would not need to have lived with you all your life to just taking a picture of you in every fraction of the second. The person also need to enter into your head to see how you process that information. It means that it is technically impossible for somebody to contest your story because you are the only one that is seeing it. You felt it. You were there. You make decisions. It was based on certain things. What?
Mhm.
So nobody can contest your story if you own it. So it's your superpower. So don't let it just lie
Yes.
by and let other people use your story because they can use it against you. You know, you don't say now, okay, they will think about me too. They will remember me. No, but what if you are intentional about that? It means that, like Jay is saying, you are reclaiming your power because your power is your story. All right, now let's try to learn this from the point of view of agriculture too, of food. Who doesn't eat food here? You see, Dr. Kechi is an expert in this area. He's been working on it for a number of years. So let's see if there is anything we can also learn from that from the point of view of agribusiness. So, Dr. Kechi, what do you say? How do we build our legacy looking at it from the point of view of your area of expertise? Please help us.
Thank you very much. I think I will borrow from Jennifer's what she was saying because I know that she was trying to talk about the what we call the marketing mix or 4 P's of marketing, which explains the whole idea of marketing, just those 4 areas, which are price, place, that is price of a product, the product itself, which is the second P, the place where the product is sold, These days, you don't need to go, to a geographical location. You can use a medium which is online, virtual space to do your marketing. And then the fourth P is promotion, or every activity to promote a product, which of course that's where the branding comes in. And I saw also she mentioned about sort of value or loyalty, integrity of the product. So now, from the aspect of agriculture, from looking at agriculture as a system now, a system. If you're looking at agriculture as a system, then you are talking about the from production. Yeah, like the four aspects of agriculture, which are the major aspect: crops, livestock, forestry, and fisheries. So that's we can get food from these four areas. And then after production, what happens? That is, you have cultivated the soil, and or cultivating the soil to grow crops, or yeah, you have also um, engaged in some technologies. It could be sophisticated. It could also be indigenous. Yeah, and then you have processed that product that has that was produced, or that produce rather produce, before it becomes a product. It has to pass through some processing. And then after that, you now start talking about logistics. That's where the distribution comes in, and that's handling, then storage and all that. Can it for sustainability? And when you look at this, now in this era of fourth industrial revolution, where blockchain has come in to make a lot of things, those activities very easy. Indigenous, in when you have passed through all that, and you now have your product, and you start say, okay, let's go back and trace where this product came from. And then you are talking about now trying to help in traceability. And then of course storytelling. What How can you adapt storytelling into what I have explained into the agricultural systems? Then, of course, consumption. Consumption is the four aspect of a system, of the agricultural system. So when you are consuming a product, now at the point of consumption, the product or produce that you are consuming, depending on who you are, whether you are an individual or an institution or a partner, that is the form of business organization you are in. It depends, it's tantamount on what your motive is. And so that is also where you can unlock storytelling from that aspect. How will you unlock storytelling? Can I say that you can unlock storytelling by looking at where, you know, who maybe the motive, yeah, the motive of uh, the buyer, the motive of the institution selling as well. Of course, the seller, because, or rather the business owner or business owners, they have already a story about their product. They can tell the story better than the buyer. The buyer will have to work with what the seller idea is. So the seller dictates the piper. The seller has already invested his resource. He knows where the seeds are, that this seeds is GMO. This seed is not a GMO seed. So he knows the beginning of that. So you can see where where it can help in the agriculture space. Now, remember, then it will keep playing out. And then, of course, the buyers, those in brokering activities, in fact, that is even where the when you are talking about marketing, you are now talking about that's where the brokers play their roles. That's where the middlemen, that's where the marketers, that's where the sellers, the intermediaries are playing roles. So what are they doing? They are, remember, we in agriculture, we have what we call supply chain. We have the supply channel, we have the value chain. Now, in the supply chain, we have the channel of distribution, the producers, the wholesalers, the retailers, and the consumers. Then, when you're talking about in a value chain, or there are enablers of a value in a value chain. The value chain enablers are those who are adding value to an agricultural produce. That's where you see a lot of processing activities. When a particular crop, for example, you want to eat meat, you want to eat some turkey, you will not just go grab turkey and it has to be processed. Value has to be added. And when you are in a developed country, you can enter into all the companies that my colleagues have mentioned. You mentioned them. You mentioned the McDonald's. You mentioned yeah, those, yeah, and you enter there and a lot has already been done, and you want to buy fish. Some people don't like fish because of the way it is processed. But there's a way you can prepare fish, and fish becomes very consumable. All those other things, all those those things that make people not to divulge it or to have it in their closet. Well, yeah, and that is how it works. So storytelling, not just in that regard, in the aspect of the product, also in our cultural. And that is why it's called agriculture. So, culture, you cannot run away from, looking at agriculture as a culture. It's very cultural. And, there are some places, you are maybe doing some tradition. I mean, in Africa, there are some foods that you eat in a culture. Like that is what we need to teach some of the diaspora, friends, that food and culture actually goes together. And let me tell you something as I conclude. Food is just an aspect of agriculture sector. It's not the entire agriculture. So food is just an aspect. There are other things about agriculture. Thank you.
I'm going to be predicated around the methodology of getting the story. You see, I'm very happy that the conversation actually have a full circle now, because we're talking about food, and food, if we imagine it very well, we see that it need to be processed, it need to be planted before you can then eat it. So that is where the work of Dr. Kichi came in a very full circle here. Now, uh, what do you recommend as a method or a better method of excavating the stories? Because sometimes many of the people that we're going to be talking to within the field of agriculture, if you take African agricultural practices into a context here, okay, many people might not have might not know all the jargon in the book, but they know how to play with it in the feed. So maybe you want to document their story, you want to translate what they have in the feed into a method or a medium that you can transmit to most other people. Now you are maybe talking about writing it in a book or making it into a documentary. You want to take the what they say or what they do, make it understandable by other people. What is the best method of doing that? Okay, now let me share with you. In Aclasses Media, and also in the course of the research that I've done here in Verona, in northern Italy, I've used what you know as PET, which is photo elicitation techniques, where maybe you bring a photograph, you put it in front of the person, and maybe the person might be shy, doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to open up in the beginning because eventually the person will talk. Only that you need to do the small talk, then get the person to talk. Okay, this is relevant because of the nature of the interview that I have done here in this more than 10 years now, because you probably will already understand the complication of immigrant coming to Italy now. We'll start talking about sexual abuse and the rest of it, prostitution and all of that. So when you start digging into those stories, people don't just start opening up to you immediately. So we decide to devise a means, which is what I just referred to as the photo elicitation techniques, where you maybe, for example, instead of just talking about what have happened to you, we start from somewhere, they will begin to break it down a little bit. So a couple of days ago, I actually wrote 2 articles explaining why this is important as a strategy. And as I was writing this article, I imagine how it can actually be very useful when we take our conversation back to Africa. Because we tend to explore this storytelling in Africa where we just stand in front of an elderly person and try to download what they have learned so they can be helpful to other people too. So, but it's not going to be possible to have this individual to talk to me in English or maybe in the official language of the people. But if you cannot do that, which other way is there to get this information from them? Again, we're talking about legacy. How do we transmit what we have lived into the future that is going to come? So I'm trying to look for what is the best way to do that, maybe within the field of agriculture. How do you take their life experience and communicate it in a global space? What do you say about that?
Actually, coming back to agriculture and talking about legacy, when you mentioned it, it sounded a bit metaphorical. Let me use that word. It's because you mentioned the excavation, or and trying to build legacy, which of course I look at it as it has to be a meticulous approach, like being intentional, being very intentional in documenting some of the aspects of agriculture, not even some, every activity of agriculture sector, for us to look, drive transformation, for us to make meaningful legacy or impact. Because when you're talking about legacy, impact is part of legacy. I don't know if we agree to that, because creating an impact in whatever you do leaves some legacy. So therefore, there are some variables because of there's something I will want to talk about agriculture. Agriculture can be practiced in subsistence, like small scale. And most times, when you're talking about subsistence and small scale, could be maybe family, individual, maybe just producing for you and your family. So that a lot of storytelling and trying to create a very formidable framework for family and people around you in that circle. It also plays out in that regard. But for the commercial farmer, you are no longer doing it from that from the selfish angle, from the one, you have increased your you now have a greater audience, greater number, and the approach must be specified. That's why I talked about it being intentional. It has to be intentional. It has to be meticulously uncovered. Let me use that word. It has to be documented. The concept has to, be created in such a way that legacy will last. It has to like be showcased. Like when you are talking about archaeological, the artifacts, excavation, people can come, they visit it and all that. So that is where it must be attractive. We must make it very attractive for our people, for our generation. It's a generational thing. Everybody must eat. Food is essential. We must eat to be alive. Whether you like it or not, if you don't eat, you cannot function. You'll be angry.
Mm.
An angry man is a hungry man. A hungry man is an angry man. You have to eat to function. You have to eat to play your roles. You have to eat to serve. You have to eat to be alive. Everything surrounds food. Everything surrounds, and that is the heart and the core of the Brain Engineering Initiative, which today I'm pioneering, and it's growing a lot of wings now. We are now trying to look at nutritional issues. Here in the UK, I remember when I created the Brain Engineering, and there's somebody approached me and said, it sounds a bit unfriendly. It sounds too harsh. But I knew what I received. Some people will call it, how do they call it again? Like when you want to talk about God, you said the ancestors. Or you say, there's one word. We used to joke with it. Anyway, yeah, you say the way you receive the present it that way. And so, I was invited by a UK institution, a full-fledged UK. In fact, today it's been bought by another bigger institution. And that story is there. Talking about brain engineering as a strategy, to rebrand agriculture for young people, to change so that their attitude towards agriculture will change. We need to tell that story. Where did we start? Where are we going? A lot of people are misusing food. They are misusing resources of agriculture, practicing a lot of unfriendly things that will kill food, so that we are struggling to create food. And that's why the global south, there's a lot of food insecurity. There's so much poverty. Poverty and food goes together. What do I mean? The more you kill poverty, the more people will get food secured. What do I mean? Because food security is a concept which was defined by the Food and Agriculture Organization as what? A situation where everyone have easy access to food. Of course, food has to be available. And of course, they are utilizing food. Food is they are able to eat food to their nutritional requirements, not just eating food anyway. They must eat food and it must align. And that is, storytelling is very important in sharing the idea in, to unlock the food agenda, food security, the knowledge of agriculture, and what agriculture stands for. Agriculture is also what? Agriculture is the mainstay of a major economy in developing countries. And that's why, as I wrap up, to say that to contribute to economic development, we must share the story of agriculture to our young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kechi. We appreciate you. Of course, today we also, at least for those that didn't know before about the brain engineering, which is Dr. Kechi has pioneered, you also have the chance to learn about it. He's a full library, Dr. Kechi. Anyway, another day you will talk more about that because, of course, you've been working on it for a very long time. Like I said, we have a number of publications about him, which you can easily find on Aclasses Media. He's a very hardworking person. I love that. All right, now let's just quickly run through it, each of us, because this moment we need to also tell the people how they can benefit from what we are doing, and we don't do that as a side note. That is actually why we're here to give, but also sometimes we also need to receive. It is important. So we will just pass it around. So I will start with Don Hoff. Don, tell the people how they can benefit from you, where they can see you, and in essence saying, use this few seconds to promote yourself. Please go ahead.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on. I appreciate the opportunity. You can always reach me on LinkedIn. I'm there, and just recently I have a colleague, who actually is beginning to post items, make posts that will appear on our Grow Mobile business page. So keep an eye out for those things. You can also reach me through the website at growmobilenow.com. We've been working on this for some time, but we'd be happy to see you there. There's a wait list there where you can sign up, and we'll send additional information at some point. But that's the best way to reach me for now. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Don. I appreciate that. All right. Our dear Jennifer, yes, please tell the people how to reach out to you and tell them also what you have that is cooking.
Okay. I know this is a business program, so I'm at a phase right now where my focus has really not been business, even though I've been in business many, many years. I'm actually studying right now to be a student priestess. So if you don't mind, can I give my contacts of my church? Is that okay?
No problem. It's up to you. If
Okay.
I give them even an invitation to come and eat with you, no problem.
Well, my business is a solutions agency. It's a boutique marketing agency, and right now I do clients on a, I guess, case by case basis. My church, the group is called the Journey Home Group. That's not the name of the church, but if you go to www.journeyhomegroup.com, or our philanthropic arm is moj-baby.com, Moj Baby. You may not see me expressly, but you'll see what we're working toward. And I don't know what time we end, but I'm going to have to leave. But I wanted to leave with just this quick, I guess, short, I won't call it poem, just some points.
All right.
When we think legacy, things that you can remember. L, and I think someone just said this, lasting impact. Whatever you do, you want to have lasting impact. E, you want to etch whatever your product, your service is into the minds of your consumer. G, you're going from generation to generation. A, you want to be authentic, altruistic, and whatever it is needs to be actionable. C, you want to carve into the hearts. And Y, this is your gift to the world, so it's uniquely you. And with that, I'm going to say Namastu, which is our greeting in our church, and I'm going to have to leave if that's okay.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, Jane.
All right.
As we do the closing part, what is your final thought here? Tell the people how to find you, and what are some of those goodies that they can benefit from you?
Absolutely. I mentioned earlier my book, The Rules of Engagement in Storytelling. You can get it on Amazon, both digital and print. You can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm there, the storytelling strategist. I'm also reformulating my two websites, ruleyourstory.com and outriggerventures.com. And Outrigger Ventures is the evolution, and now thinking about it, legacy for ruleyourstory.com. Once you understand your story, you need to be able to take that to market. And you need sustainability and scalability. And so Outrigger Ventures was born out of understanding that businesses need to take their story to the next level, which is maybe getting capital and then help with operations with outsourcing. And so those are the two things that go beyond just your story, but the actual fundamentals of running your business. So look me up. In the next year, you're going to see these two websites grow and change. And also my app, Rule Your Story. is also going to be available. So look for me there, rollyourstory.com, outriggerventures.com, and on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Oh, right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so the last person there, just even though Dr. Kichi, you are not always selling something, of course, you are selling idea. That is a beautiful thing. So tell the people how to reach out to you so they can also benefit from what you do.
Thank you so much. Of course, I sell idea. Um, I'm a teacher, and I'm also working towards creating product as well, because agriculture is not just something, it's a practical course. It's, the food that we eat comes from our hands. Yeah, so you can find me here on LinkedIn as well. You can also find me um on my WhatsApp. These days I'm so busy. I find it very, very challenging to respond to WhatsApp these days, but I think LinkedIn is a bit easy for me. Sometimes I also use my Instagram, but sometimes. But I think email is the best for me at the moment, and I'm very happy to hear your story and engage. And of course, I'm a regular speaker in events. I build capacity. So if I understand what's the motive, what the exercise, maybe a conference or seminar, yeah, I will be able to attend and speak. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Obehi
All right.
Ewanfoh.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you, my fellow panelists. Jennifer has dropped, Jay and Dawn. Happy to sit again with you. Looking forward to the next year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Ahead of
Actually, this
us.
is by the time the event is created, I will let you know. But I think this is the last one I'm going to have for this year, even though we might have for the second, which is on the 30th, but we might just leave that so that we're in the period, we're in the festive period. So I want to thank all of you that have listening to the end of this conversation. We say continue to support us, continue to be a positive light in your generation, and also remember that what you are doing is going to have an effect on people that are not even yet born. So think of what you are doing as a contribution, as a message to that generation, so that you are careful of what you do. So this is what the legacy actually is about. Being able to understand, first of all, that we are always building on what other people have done before us. So we also need to build for other people to benefit from, which is actually a good thing. It's a way of reciprocating. So I thank you so much for being here. Continue to support us. So thank you so much to our panelists. Jennifer has already gone. Jay, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Don. And of course, Dr. Kichi, I say thank you so much for the time. It has been a great pleasure here. So yeah, we're here again for the beginning of January. That is when this room is going to be back again. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, blissful celebration.